Updated March 22, 2019, 9 hours 17 minutes and 17 seconds. If the Thai election was being pitched as a new Netflix series, it would probably be a cross between House of Cards and Game of Thrones, dramatic enough to get you hooked and complex enough to sustain several seasons of binge viewing. Key points. Thais go to the polls on Sunday in the first election since a military junta took power in 2014. Most of the 51 million registered voters will be choosing between pro- and anti-junta parties, but whether they will choose stable autocracy or messy democracy is anyone's guess. The cast includes a short-tempered army general, an Oxford-educated conservative haunted by the past, a handsome young millionaire, and a likable woman with all the right factional connections. Policies take a backseat. Stripped to its essence, this election is seen as a crucial test of what sort of country Thais want to live in. Ever since the monarchy made way for democracy, at least on paper, back in 1932, Thailand has suffered a cycle of elections, coups and mass protests, as the kingdom bounced between civilian and military control. The most recent coup happened in 2014, after months of disruptive street demonstrations. Since then, a military junta has ruled the country and politics has been banned. So on Sunday, the 24th of March, most of the 51 million registered voters will be choosing between parties aligned to the junta or against the junta. Will they opt for the stability of autocracy or the uncertainty of a messy democracy? Pro-junta forces. For the past 5 years the military has ruled outright, under the leadership of General Prayut Chan-ocha, who appointed himself prime minister after what was described at the time as a polite coup. Many longtime Thailand watchers say General Prayut's real job was to oversee the royal succession, from much-loved King Bhumibol to his son, the current King Vajiralongkorn. As a political leader, Uncle Two, as he's known, has been rather volatile, switching between smug and furious as he frequently lost his cool at press conferences. Attempts to soften his image have been interesting. They include several nauseating crooner songs, as well as a relaxed and trendy photo shoot that one academic said made General Prayut look like a B-grade gigolo. General Prayut's main hope of staying in power, as an unelected, outside prime minister, more on that later, is as head of a coalition government made up of outright proxies, like-minded conservatives and opportunists. Palang Pracharat People's State Power Party is the main proxy for the junta, coaxing some big-name politicians away from more established groups, with promises of a seat at the well-fed winners' table. Other pro-junta allies include Ruam Palang Pracharat Thai Party, led by the pro-establishment agitator Suthep Thaisuban, and People Reform Party. But other elected MPs may well jump ship after the vote, something known in Thai politics as being a cobra. In fact, a bag full of cobras is not a bad way to think about the stability and harmony within a future coalition government. Anti-junta challengers. For the past 20 years, one force has dominated Thai politics: the Red Shirts, the political project of former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. The Red Shirt heartland is Thailand's rural north and northeast regions, where policies like $1.50 doctors' visits and government schemes to buy rice at inflated prices were hugely popular with farmers and the poor. The telecommunications billionaire was convicted of corruption and fled overseas, where he now lives in exile, and his sister Yingluck, his proxy prime minister, who was ousted in 2014, joined him shortly before being convicted for one of those expensive rice subsidy schemes. Mr. Thaksin's MAB won in 2001, 2005 though were ousted by a coup the following year, 2007, until a court disbanded the party, and would likely have won again in 2014, except for, yep, another coup. These days it's a bit more complicated than simply red shirts versus yellow shirts, but Mr. Thaksin's influence and mythology remain a key part of the anti-junta movement. The main toxin-backed party these days is called Pheu Thai for Thailand, and is led by Sudarat Keyurifan. While she may not be exactly setting the electorate on fire, she projects a maternal warmth at campaign rallies, and is seen as a moderate who gets along well with factional leaders inside and around the party. As one analyst put it, her main qualification as party leader is that nobody hates her. The Pheu Thai-led bloc would have been odds-on favorites to win, until a dramatic twist last month involving the king's sister, Princess Yubol Ratana Mahidol. Let's go back a step. Pheu Thai was so worried about being disbanded by an election commission handpicked by the junta, that they set up a splinter party called Thai Raksamchart They Save the Nation Party. In order to avoid splitting the anti-junta vote, they mostly divided up the constituencies and ran either Pheu Thai or Thai Raksamchart candidates. Then, Thai Raksamchart shocked the country by nominating Princess Yubol Ratana as its preferred prime minister. Later that day, King Vajiralongkorn deemed it inappropriate, and soon enough a court found Thai Raksamchart had breached the law, supposedly keeping royals above politics, even though Princess Yubol Ratana had been officially stripped of her royal titles when she married an American in 1972. Thai Raksamchart was deregistered, its executives banned from politics for a decade, and its 121 candidates suddenly had more time to spend with their families. Because the two toxin-aligned parties had divided their efforts, Pheu Thai now has only 250 candidates left in the race, making it impossible to win a majority of the 500-seat House of Representatives. But there are still a few other anti-junta parties who might form an anti-junta coalition, including another Pheu Thai splinter party called Pheu Chart. In the Dirty Harry category, there's the Sari Ruam Thai party, led by tough-talking ex-cop Suripasut Temayavit. During the campaign, he said that if he'd been there on the day of the 2014 coup, I would have shot Prayat in the head. Future Forward is also staunchly anti-junta, see Dark Horse, below. The kingmaker, with no single party expected to win more than 250 seats, a coalition government seems a certainty, and the Democrat Party could well be the political kingmakers. Discussion of the actual king's role in politics is not possible because of strict laws in Thailand. The Democrats are a proven performer, winning anywhere from 19 to 33% of the vote in recent elections, with strong support in the southern and central regions of Thailand, as well as Bangkok. The party is led by Abhishek Vejajiva, who went to Oxford and was installed as prime minister for a couple of years after courts ousted the elected leaders and parties back in 2008. Despite the name, the Democrat Party is conservative and is considered close to the military-royal elite nexus that ultimately controls the nation, broadly known as Yellow Shirts. The Democrats are seen by some as a middle ground, but Mr. Abhishek's image is haunted by the army's violent crackdown against red shirt protesters in 2010 that saw about 100 people killed. While Mr. Abhishek insists he did not order the bloodshed, not unreasonable in a country where the military operates independently of the civilian government, his legacy is now somewhat tainted. Dark Horse Future Forward Party has been largely written off by many pundits, but seems to be all that young voters are talking about. Party leader Thanathorn Wangurun Gruangkit, 40, comes from a wealthy family that makes its money from auto parts. While he has been described as looking like a Chinese movie villain, others say his youthful good looks are part of the charm, as is his unadorned style of speaking. His social media game is on point, albeit in a very local way. An unusual hashtag, which translates to, with a week left before the election, Mr. Thanathorn announced that he had placed his assets in a blind trust to avoid accusations of dodgy business deals. Furthermore, the arrangement will be in place for 3 years after he leaves politics. It was a move applauded by transparency advocates and many in the public, who have had a gutful of watching politicians and their often conspicuous wealth. Future Forward offers about the only fresh take on Thai politics, with relatively radical policies such as ending conscription, slashing the military budget, rewriting the constitution, and dramatically increasing welfare. If the buzz translates to votes, Future Forward will be another crucial coalition partner. Dope policy. Man, it seems strange that a party campaigning on a pro-marijuana ticket could be so influential, but in Thailand policies often come second to the pull of strong locally known candidates. That's the case with the binge Thai party, which received 11% of the vote last election, making it the third most popular outfit after Pheu Thai and the Democratic Party. But don't expect the dawning of a new age of Aquarius or a return to the days when surfer-smuggled Thai stick was the world's most sought-after pot. Binge Thai party wants Thai farmers to be allowed to grow and sell cannabis, to make the most of new laws on medical marijuana, which the junta has pushed through at the behest of Big Pharma. Binge Thai says it could swing either way, teaming up with pro or anti-junta parties. The smart stuff. So those are the main players involved, but to have any clue about Sunday's vote, there's two things to know about the election system itself. Stay with me, or else everything you've read so far will be a waste. The first involves the lower house, the 500-seat House of Representatives. Only 350 of those seats are up for grabs in a direct, first-past-the-post race. The other 150 seats will be given out to so-called party list candidates, depending on the share of votes each party gets. Here's where it gets tricky. A new system of handing out the party list votes was introduced by the junta in the 2017 constitution, and it puts Pheu Thai and other large parties at a huge disadvantage. The maths is complicated, but basically the number of candidate seats a party wins will be subtracted from their share of party list seats. That means small parties with relatively low numbers of votes could be powerful little forces in a coalition government, a la Australian motoring enthusiast party. The second thing to know about is a bit of a game changer, the new 250-seat Senate, handpicked by the junta. Now, this Senate doesn't have a say in forming the government, but it does vote on who should be Prime Minister. What that means is the pro-junta side starts out with a third of the overall parliament in the bag, and needs just 126 more seats to elect their chosen prime minister. That person doesn't even have to be an elected MP, it could be an outside prime minister, like, say, picking a name completely at random, General Prayut Chan-ocha. By contrast, the anti-junta alliance would have to win 376 out of the available 500 seats available in the House of Representatives to give them the same result. Another awkward possibility is that one side forms government but the other side picks the PM, meaning legislation will be blocked and the parliament will probably be a dysfunctional mess. So who's going to win? Even if one was crazy enough to try to predict Asian politics, this election would be a brave undertaking. Recent polls have seen as many as two-thirds of respondents saying they haven't decided, which presumably means, after 5 years of repressive military control, why would I tell you, stranger? Many analysts say the junta has made the playing field so unlevel that it will scrape together a coalition that picks General Prayut as prime minister. But pent-up desire for change and frustration with the junta could see an outpouring of support for anyone who opposes the generals. Keep in mind that the toxin-aligned party won a whopping 75% of the vote in 2005, so when the people speak they sometimes shout, "We really don't know what's going to happen, and that's what makes it so exciting," said Chris Baker, author of A History of Thailand. Will the losing side accept the result? Or will there be a return to street protests if the pro-junta alliance wins, or another coup if the anti-junta parties win, as academic Paul Chambers recently explained? General Prayut's influence within the military is in decline, and Army Chief Apirat Kong Sampong is aggressively consolidating power, making him the one to watch for any future coup rumblings. So does that mean you should cancel your beach holiday to Thailand? No. History suggests that Teflon Thailand always seems to stumble through its political turmoils in a way that rarely impacts foreign visitors. But for this election is an important chance to have a say on big-picture issues like democracy and the role of the military. Last week, a record number of people enrolled to cast absentee ballots, hinting that they are keen to make their voices heard on Sunday. Topics: elections, world politics, economic trends. Army, Thailand first posted March 22, 2019, 5 hours 21 minutes and 6 seconds.